NFL Week 16 picks. We're getting close to the end of the regular season, getting set up for a really good playoffs, especially on the NFC side. I'm interested to see how my Super Bowl predictions between the Chiefs and the Vikings before the season started, if those two teams make a run in the playoffs, will be interesting to see. So let's get to these picks for Week 16. Texans and Buccaneers, the first of three Saturday games. I think the Texans will win this game. Not really a game that I care about seeing that much this weekend. You got Deshaun Watson versus Jameis Winston. Texans with a 9-5 record. They're looking to lock up the AFC South, and I think they will. Jameis Winston, he might lead the Bucks to make the game interesting, late in the game, but I don't think they'll pull it out even though they're at home. So I got to go with Houston on the road. Buffalo, New England. I will admit, Buffalo, give props to Buffalo for finally clinching a playoff spot. A couple years ago, they hadn't made the playoffs since 2000 I think it was the 1999 season. And they made the playoffs thanks to Andy Dalton throwing a game-winning touchdown pass against the Ravens. And then they missed the playoffs last year after drafting Josh Allen. But then they make it again this year. You gotta give major props to Sean McDermott. He's the one that made this all possible with his head coaching skills. He's a really good coach, and not to mention they have a great defense this year. The Bills' offense was much maligned before the season started, and they have a good defense, but the offense has played a major role in their success this season too. They wouldn't be where they are right now if not for if the offense hadn't performed like they've performed this year. So, but they're going into New England, and they're running into Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in Foxborough late in the season. The Patriots just come up too many times. They come up big too many times in these kind of situations. So, as good as Buffalo is, I will have to go with New England in this game. So, Patriots get the win at home. New England continues to have the Bills number. The last Saturday night game is the Rams and the 49ers. I have the 49ers. I'll take the 49ers in this game. I know they lost to Atlanta, but they won't suffer a repeat this week. They know this is a big division game. The Rams, they're looking to get a wild card spot. And to me, if they want to get a wild card spot, then, winning a game like this is very important, not only for the end of the season, but, to prove to people that they can win in the playoffs and that they can go as far as they did last year if they win a game like this, if they prove they can. But I don't think they will. I like Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, George Kittle, and all them in that defense to get the job done at home this week. I got the 49ers. And then Sunday's games. First game, we got the Bengals and the Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Bengals in this game. Why? Because the Bengals, that just because they're the Bengals, they'll win a game like this, and they'll win the last game of the year just to take themselves out of contention for Joe Burrow. It's what the Bengals do. They ruin their fans' hopes. And normally, I would pick the Dolphins to win this game, but I'm a Bengals fan. I'm used to being let down. I know that if they win this game, then they'll most likely be out of contention for a quarterback or Chase Young. So they have to lose this game, and they have to lose the week after that against Cleveland to secure the number one overall pick. And because Bengals fans are so good at being pessimists, I'm going to be pessimistic here just because I'm a Bengals fan and say that they win this game just to take themselves out of contention for Joe Burrow. So give me Cincinnati on the road. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Dolphins win because, if you're a Bengals fan, if you don't want them to lose out and get the number one overall pick, then I don't know what's going on with you, honestly, because, other than that, you're just wanting a meaningless win, and that's not what I want. I want a quarterback. It's time for Andy Dalton to go, and, but like I said, we're Bengals fans, and we're used to being let down, so I'll take the Bengals on the road. Hope I'm wrong, though. I'll take them to win in Miami. Giants and Redskins, another tank bowl game nobody really cares about, but I don't know. I guess I'll go with the Redskins just because they're at home. The Giants, they had promise once Eli Manning got benched for Daniel Jones, he won 2 games in a row with him, but then they've been losing ever since. And, the Redskins aren't very good either with Dwayne Haskins, but I still think they'll beat the Giants in a meaningless game, so give me Washington. Saints and Titans. I will give the Titans credit and Coach Mike Vrabel, for getting them to an 8-6 record. Having Marcus Mariota as their quarterback, and then him getting benched for Ryan Tannehill. Since Mariota got benched, and I'll give Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel a lot of credit. They've really performed this year to put themselves in contention for a wild card spot. But, they're playing, they got a really, really tough task on their hands this week against Drew Brees and the Saints. And I just think that the Saints' offensive talent, and especially their talent on defense, will be too much for the Titans to overcome. I think New Orleans steals this game on the road. Titans will make it interesting, though. So, Steelers and Jets. Normally, you look at this game, Steelers are 8-6, Jets are 5-9. Normally, you'd look at the Steelers and say, well, they have the better record. The Jets, they're totally out of it. They don't have anything to play for. The Steelers, this will be an easy win for them. But I don't think that's the case. I think the Jets will. I don't know why, but I think they'll find a way to steal this game. The Steelers are another team that's that's really fighting for a playoff spot these last 2 weeks, and I think that they'll stumble in this game. I think the Jets and Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, they'll acquire meaningless wins to ruin their draft position by beating the Steelers at home. Give me the Jets. Carolina and Indianapolis. You got a matchup between two teams whose seasons are obviously a wash. Kyle Allen started like he played good once Cam Newton went out, got him to a 5-3 record, but they've lost 6 in a row. Now they're 5-9. Their season, that's obviously, it was obviously a big fluke those first few games that he won with Carolina. And, the Colts, they were 5-3 also, but now they're 6-8. So both teams, suffered through some false hope this year. And now that's why they're both playing in a game where it just doesn't really mean anything. I like the Colts and Jacoby Brissett at home. They won't. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they will win this game at home. So give me the Colts. Ravens and Browns. I like the Ravens to win. Ravens obviously the better team. The Browns, they're 6-8. All the preseason expectations and hype. Everybody's saying they were going to win the Super Bowl and blow through the AFC. They're the Browns for a reason, and that's why they're 6-8. The Browns always let their fans down, have every year since they came back to the league in 1999. This is nothing new to Browns fans. I never drank the Browns Kool-Aid. I knew that they were the Browns, and that history has never been, the last 20 years, history hasn't been kind to the Browns. And I knew that, a season like this was always within the realm of possibility. And that's why I'm not really surprised that they're 6-8. Baker Mayfield's kind of an overrated quarterback. There have been whispers that OBJ wants out of Cleveland, which I know he said that he wants to come back, but you know that it's Cleveland, and you know that there were some players that were even yelling to the Cardinals sideline when they lost to Arizona last week. They were saying, "Come get me." And, you can't blame them for that because it is Cleveland and they're the Browns. And, a lot of people, they're a cursed franchise, and that's why they're 6-8 right now. With all that preseason hype and expectations, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that they're 6-8 right now because they are the Browns. But that's not the point. The point is the Ravens will win and send the Browns to their 9th loss of the year. Ravens continue to solidify their position as the best team in the AFC. I think they could beat New England in the AFC playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. I hope they do, but they will win this game. They got to win a game like this first, and they will. So give me Baltimore. Jaguars and Falcons. Matchup of two 5-9 teams. Another game nobody cares about, but I'm going to go with the Falcons at home. Falcons with all the offensive talent they should have had a better year this year. They've got the likes of Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Austin Hooper, guys like that, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan. I mean, they've got a really good offense, but, and Matt Ryan being hurt for that little bit of the season obviously didn't help matters, but they should have had a better year than they had this year. And I think it's time for Dan Quinn to go. He should be fired. He should have been gone after they with the Super Bowl loss and the loss the year after that to the Eagles in the divisional round, and then missing the playoffs last year. He definitely should have been gone after they missed the playoffs last year, but he came back. And that's why it's inexplicable that he's still here. But if something isn't done with Dan Quinn after this year, I would really be surprised. He's shown that all he's capable of with the Atlanta Falcons is failure. So that's why he needs to be shown the door in Atlanta. We'll be curious to see if Arthur Blank does it, but nevertheless, they'll still win this game. So give me the Falcons in a meaningless game. Chargers and Raiders at Chargers in another meaningless game. Both teams' season is a wash again. A lot of games are like this. This game, all the other games, some of the other games I just mentioned, Lions and Broncos is like that. I think the Chargers will win. I like Phillip Rivers to best Derek Carr. The Raiders, they were sitting at 6-4. There was hope in Oakland too, but then now they've lost 4 in a row, and they're another team that's just been dysfunctional for years, kind of like the Browns. And in their last game in the Coliseum, their fans were pelting trash and garbage and debris onto the field, throwing it at them. That's kind of a fitting way, like somebody said, to end for the Raiders to end their tenure in Oakland before they go to Las Vegas and become just another tourist attraction. So I don't think they're going to have big fan support in Oakland. There are people who have said, somebody said that Las Vegas has never had a history of supporting an NFL team, and they haven't. They support the Vegas Golden Knights, who are NHL team. They came into the league a couple years ago, and they took the league by storm. Getting to the Stanley Cup final in their first year, and then making the playoffs last year, and they're obviously another successful team this year that has hopes of winning the Stanley Cup. So when the Raiders go to Vegas, everybody's going to care about the Golden Knights. Nobody is going to care about the Raiders. And, that was just kind of a fitting way for them to end their time in Oakland, with the fans throwing trash at them and garbage at them. And, and some of it's, I'm not going to say it's right, but, they have been a really dysfunctional franchise since they won the Super Bowl in 2002. Since that 2002 year they went to the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've been irrelevant. And, their fans were taking out their frustration of that by throwing trash at them. And they shouldn't have done that. That was a very classless move by the Raiders fans. But, it's on Oakland to have a good football team and to try to, it's on their ownership and management to try to put a competent product out on the field, and that's just something that they've failed to do in Oakland for years. So, nevertheless, the Raiders let down their fans, and they'll let down their fans Sunday again with a loss in LA against the Chargers. I like Phillip Rivers to lead his team to win at home, so give me LA. Lions and Broncos, another garbage time season game between two teams that are clearly out of it. I like the Broncos to win. It was looking like the Lions. I think they started 2-0 at the start of the season, 2-1. It was looking like that. I was kind of thinking the Lions might have a good year the first few weeks of the season, but then Matt Stafford got hurt, and they lost some games, and then they everything just went to smithereens for them. Detroit's another team that you can look at and say, oh, they're cursed. They've only won one playoff game since 1957, which came during the 1991 season. So they've obviously been dysfunctional for decades, many decades. And another typical season for them and their fans. But Broncos will win the game. So give me Denver. Arizona and Seattle. I like Seattle to win. Obviously the better team than Arizona. I think Kyler Murray and the Cardinals could be a good NFL team one day. I think they're still a year or two away, but it just didn't happen this year. I think Cliff Kingsbury should, he should be given another year, but if he doesn't get it next year, he should be gone. He was a coach that was fired from Texas Tech and brought on to the NFL. That's just a recipe for failure, bringing in a college coach that had recently been fired by his team. So, it's no surprise the Cardinals have had the season they've had. But Seattle will win this game at home. Probably, I don't know. Who cares what the score is? Seattle's, like I said, the better team. They'll probably blow them out. So, give me the Seahawks. Dallas and Philadelphia. A winner take all. Winner take all for the NFC East. winner of this game will win the NFC East title, and the loser will probably go home and not make the playoffs. So it is a big game. It's America's Game of the Week, 4:25 p.m. on Fox. I got to tell you, this is a tough game to pick because, I mean, the NFC East has been terrible all year. You know, Cowboys and Eagles are 7-7, then Redskins and Giants are 3-11. So, and the NFC, you know, and this division's name, the NFC least, it's living up to that name this year because all the teams in the division have just been, like I said, the Redskins and Giants have been horrible, and the Cowboys and Eagles have just redefined mediocrity this year. So it's a battle of two teams, one trying to fight to get in the playoffs, and the other will most likely go home. So I got to tell you, it's a tough game to pick. The Eagles, they've got a decent defense. They got Carson Wentz. But, you know, I'm looking at the Eagles receivers. I just don't think the Eagles receivers are very good. You know, the running game is decent but not great. I'm just looking at the Cowboys, and I think they have more talent on offense. You know, they got Dak Prescott. They have Ezekiel Elliott. You know, they got Michael Gallup at wide receiver. You know, they've got a really good defense and a really good offensive line. You know, and obviously Jason Witten came back and Amari Cooper's there, but I just think the Cowboys are the more talented team on offense and defense. You know, even though their record doesn't show that this year because Jason Garrett is there and he should, you know, he's just another Marvin Lewis. You know, he's just a very mediocre head coach who shouldn't be on the job. He should be an assistant but not a head coach. You know, if the Cowboys had a better head coach, they would probably be like 12-4, 13-3 this year. You know, what's happened this year, the reason for the Cowboys record, in my opinion, is all on Jason Garrett. You know, because as a head coach, it's your job to maximize the talent to your full potential and make sure you get the most out of that talent, and he hasn't done that this year. So, but like I said, the Cowboys, in my opinion, are the more talented team than the Eagles, and that's what I think will give them the win this week in Philadelphia. It'll be a good game. It really will, but in the end, the Cowboys will have the edge because they have more high-end talent, especially on the offensive line. You know, you can say that offensive line is the best one of the best in football, and like I said, the defense and then the personnel they have on offense. You know, they've got to feed Zeke Elliott late in the game to melt the clock and ice the win for the Cowboys, and I think they will. So give me Dallas. Sunday Night Football, we got the Chiefs and the Bears. You know, the Bears, another team that is really underperforming this year. You know, Matt Nagy, you know, last year they went 12-4. You know, after the season, even though they lost in the playoffs, I was like, well, you know, a lot of people was like, even me was like, well, you know, if they had a decent quarterback and they had, you know, offensive personnel around him, then they could be a Super Bowl team potentially. And you know, I just don't think Mitch Trubisky is an NFL quarterback. You know, I don't think he's a great quarterback at all. You know, I think that, you know, they had Jordan Howard last year and he got shipped off to Philadelphia, so that gave Trubisky even less to work with. You know, the Bears obviously have a great defense led by Khalil Mack. We all know that. But, you know, Trubisky, like I said, he has David Montgomery, and that's about it. You know, all the other players that Trubisky has on offense is either average or terrible. So, you know, I mean, the Bears, you know, I think that without Matt Nagy as a head coach, the record might be worse because I do think he is a decent head coach. But, you know, they're just underperforming this year. They just didn't do what everybody thought they would do. You know, a lot of people picked them to win the NFC North. But, you know, I thought they would take a step back, and, you know, my prediction kind of came true. Well, I thought they would take a minor step back, I predicted. I thought they would make a wild card but not win the division, and so far that's the way it's playing out. You know, the Bears, you know, they're on the verge of missing the playoffs, and I think they will miss the playoffs now because they're not going to beat Kansas City. Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and that offense will come in to Soldier Field, and they'll get the job done on Sunday Night Football. So give me Kansas City. And then Packers and Vikings, Monday Night Football. Probably the game of the week if you ask me, besides Cowboys and Eagles. I picked the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl in the preseason. I picked them to win the NFC North, and I'm gonna pick the Vikings to win this game at home against Green Bay. You know, US Bank Stadium, Monday Night Football. It's going to be rocking. You know, always is when the Packers and Aaron Rodgers come to town. Vikings, they've got to win this. I mean, I picked them to win the division. I'm sticking with that prediction. They will win the division, and they got to win a game like this to do that, and they will. They'll beat the Packers. They'll keep my prediction alive, and yeah, Green Bay will go into US Bank Stadium and lose to Kirk Cousins. So give me Minnesota in a really hard-fought affair, really hard-fought win for the Vikings at home on a late field goal. So there's your Week 16 picks. I'll be back in Week 17 with the Week 17 picks, and good luck to everybody's teams this week.